Let's graph this function right here. It's a little bit small. Let me write it a little bit bigger. It is f of x equals the absolute value of x and then plus 4. Now we want to graph this function right here. I wrote it a little bit bigger. We want to graph f of x as whatever number you put in, you take its absolute value, then you add 4. So here's how we're going to do that. Press the y equals key up here. It's a little hard to see on this one, even hard to see with that. So how about you do this? You press that y equals key. Now when you press that y equals key, what you get is a collection of these. It looks like this. y1 equals, then you get a y2 equals, and on my calculator it goes all the way down to y7 equals, but it probably even goes down farther. All right, so the cursor is probably appearing right here in y1. Now, what you're going to type is this. You want the absolute value. We have to get the absolute value. So here's where it is. On your calculator, now what you're going to do is you're going to press this key right here. You're going to press math. All right, so press that math key. So you press math. And then what comes up, all right, so I'll write it here. Here's what you do. You press math. Then what comes up is this. Math, number, CPX for complex, and then PRB for probability. Scroll over, use your scroll key to get number. All right, so scroll over this way to number. All right, so your cursor's on NUM. Now, the first thing that comes up here is this. Number 1 is ABS with a parentheses. Takes the absolute value of whatever you're going to put in. So you can either, just press enter because it's number 1. You can just press enter or 1. All right, so just press enter. So you press the enter key. And now under Y1, if you come back over here, you can see in Y1 you have the absolute value of something. And the cursor is blinking in there. Now what you're going to do is type an X. All right, so on your calculator now, back over here on your calculator, the X is right here. So you're going to just type in an X. So just press that key right there. All right, so you press that key, and sure enough, an X pops up in there, and there's an arrow. Now what we want to do is we want to get out of that. So use your right arrow key. All right, so now the right arrow key is over here. Here, take a look at the calculator. Use that arrow right there. So just press that button. That will take the cursor outside. It will take the cursor outside of here, and then we can type a +4. Right, so press that key right there. The cursor goes outside, and now press +4. Okay, type in +4. Okay, so plus down here, and the 4 key. All right, so we're ready to go. Now you want it to graph. So up here at the top right, press that key right there. That says graph on it. Hard to tell on the picture, but it says graph on it. So just press graph. If you haven't done anything before, it's probably set to a standard window. Now the standard window, not like this. It goes from -10 to 10, -10 to 10. When you press that, I'm getting something that now looks like this. Now look at your graphs. Is there a graph that matches this one? Look, right here. We got this V-shaped. Now all the graphs have that V shape, so we can't rule anything out right away. But it seems to be symmetric about the vertical line, and it looks like it's up about 4 units. So look at the A. Now A looks like it could be, it's not this one, that's shifted off to the right. It's not this one, it's shifted off to the left. And it's not this one, that's an inverted V. I think it's going to be this one. So I'm going to choose A in this case right here. Now we have to estimate the domain and the range. So I'm going to get us some room here. I'll get rid of this stuff right here. And let's look at these graphs. All right, now we are thinking that this is graph A. Now the domain, these are the X values. The X values are along the horizontal. So look at these horizontal values. You know what, I'm going to draw this again a little bit bigger. So the graph looks like this. Now the calculator only gives us a certain window. But these are the X values here. These are the Y values. This is where the domain is. The domain is on the X values, and the range is up here on the Y values. So what values can X be? All right, here's the domain. Well, the X's can go from where to where? Well, now remember, the graph is cut off, but you have to understand that it keeps going up this way, keeps going up that way. So this is what it looks like. So it goes all the way over here. So the x's go all the way out here. You can choose any of these values for x out here and any of these values for x out here. So it looks like we could put in all of the x's. So I'm going to say that the domain is negative infinity to infinity. Now what about the range? The range is where the y values are. Now the y values in this graph, there's none here, right? There's no y values here. There's no graph here. But the y values all seem to be from this point up. Now that is the point 4. You can see it in the graph right there. That's the 4. All right, so we can go from 4 all the way up to infinity. So our range is going to be, now let me be careful here. Let me undo that. This goes from 4 to infinity. Now, infinity is never included, so I always draw, around infinity, you always draw an open parenthesis. But the 4 is included, so we draw a square bracket around the 4. That means the 4 is actually included. So here's the domain and range, my estimate anyway, for this function based on the graph. Let's see if we can get visually the domain and range for this function right here. So I'm going to graph this function here. I'll write it so it's a little bit bigger here. F of x, what is f? The rule here is named f. Our set of instructions is named f. What are we going to do with an x that we put in? Well, first of all, we're going to square it, then we'll take its opposite. Then we'll add 4 times whatever we put in, and then we'll subtract 1. There's our function. So let's graph it. So the first thing we're going to do here is press our y equals key. All right, so we press the y equals key, and then we get this, right? We get a bunch of these. y1 equals, y2 equals, and so on. Now, if you already have something in y1, just press clear. Now, the clear key on my calculator down here on the right, here's the clear key. So just press clear. It'll clear out whatever you had in there. Now, here's what we want to do. We want to type in negative. Right, now here's the negative key. Be careful. The negative key is right here. All right, it's not the minus key. A minus means you have some number minus some number. This always goes between two numbers. We want a negative. If you put in this key, you'll get an error. So type the negative key. So let's just type that one. So negative. And now x. So where's the x? The x is right here. So press the x key. So we'll press x. And then over here, I think the easiest way to do it is to press this key right here, x squared. All right, so just press the x squared key. All right, so let me keep up here. So I'm gonna get negative. Let's see if I can get it to right. I'll get negative x, and then I press the x squared key. And now I've got this. And now the cursor is, here's where the cursor is. It's right here. It wants all the rest. So what are you going to type in? Now you're going to type in plus 4 and then the x. All right, so on the calculator, here's the plus key. And then 4. And then you want minus 1. All right, now we want minus between two numbers. So now you press minus, not this one. You want the minus key. So now minus, what is it? Minus 1. All right, so plus 4x, I'm doing it also, plus 4x minus 1. All right, now we got it in, so now press the graph key right up here on the right. I'm on the calculator. Press that graph key. Now I'm getting a picture that looks like this. Looks like it goes right through the origin and goes up, hits a maximum, and comes back down. Now remember, these keep going. These are the x's. This is where the domain is. This is the range. These are the y's. This is where the range is. Now, let's make an estimate. What do we think the domain is here? Well, it looks to me like the domain... All right, here's the domain. The domain is all these values right here. Now, if you pick any of these values here, like pick that one, will it eventually hit the graph? It doesn't hit the graph on the picture, but remember the picture is just a small little zoomed in part of it. But if I went down far enough, we're going to hit it. All right, so I can pick any number on the x-axis. So the domain I'm going to write is this. It goes from negative infinity out to positive infinity. All right, and it's open parentheses, right? Open parentheses, because infinities are not numbers. They're never included. Always parentheses around these. So the x's, you can go all the way out here, right? You can go all the way out here, and you can go all the way out here. Now, what about the y's? Well, there's no y's up here. The y's don't start until you get to this point right here. Now, you have to look a little closely here, and that's why they're saying estimate. But it looks to me like that is going to be a 4. Well, actually, as I look more closely on my graph, it looks like a 3. All right, so I'm going to say that the range is this. Now, here's the range. Here's how I'm getting the range. I can pick any of these y's. Remember, the y's are that's going to be a 3, I think. The y's are from here down. If I'm anywhere down in here, I can run it over to the graph. If I'm anywhere up here, it never hits the graph. All right, so which one so I'm going to say it goes from where? All the way down here, all the way up to 3. So I'm going to claim that the range goes from negative infinity up to and including 3. So it includes 3, so I'll put a square bracket around the 3. Now, I think that's the domain of range. Which graph does it look like to you? It's not this one here. Mine's shifted. Mine looks like this. It shifted off to the right, so it's not this one. That shifted off to the left. It's not that one. That one seemed to be symmetric. I think it's going to be A.